Win to celebrate family weekend versus a very good East Carolina football team. Coach Houston had his team ready to play. I think that was pretty evident from the opening drive. They went down and scored a touchdown. But App Nation, especially our student section, really showed out this weekend, tied an all-time record with attendance of 40,168 here at the Rock. And just another great example of what makes the mountain so special. Having great weather early on and then a big-time atmosphere, being an in-state school, and having recruits on campus. And for us to have sustained success, we have to continue to do that. But many positives from Saturday, but we have to eliminate the self-inflicted wounds to make sure we or the team we're capable of being, which I think we can. Offensively, we rushed the ball well, rushed the ball for 239 yards. Nate Noel had 193 of those, and I think Joey threw the ball well for 241 yards. We averaged 6 yards on first down, 14 yards per completion. We were 50% on third down, which is very high, and we were 3 of 4 in the red zone. The only one that wasn't successful was when we had a victory formation to end the game there. Some negative things on offense. We had two turnovers. Joey threw a pick six, and Kanye fumbled there trying to get extra yards. And you hate that happens because he was running really hard. But the things we have to get corrected before we get into next week in Wyoming. And our defense, I take the first drive out of it, we settled in. And I thought we had a great game plan with Coach Sloan and his staff. We contained their run game. They had 2.7 yards per carry. And they were 3 of 12 on third down, which gives us a 75% success rate. 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions. Nick Ross, Jordan Favors, Amari Filia, and four quarterback hurries up front on the defensive line. But we have to improve on our alignments, especially out of unbalanced formations, fit in the right gaps. On the goal line, we're in a certain call on defense, didn't fill the right gaps, and we have to match their personnel groupings as we go forward. But I thought especially the solid Michael and Mitch hit the ball well, put it where we asked them to put it. I thought Mitch had great hang time on his punts. And then Milan Tucker had another big day returning kickoffs out of the end zone. And then Caden Robinson gave us a big shot in the arm on the one punt return. But overall, pleased. Again, we have to limit the self-inflicted wounds. But we moved on to Wyoming, and Coach Bowles done a fantastic job there, creating the culture that he wants. I don't know him personally, but I know he's a winner. You go back to North Dakota State, 3 national championships. From afar, he runs his program probably very similar to us. He's heavy run, and they do a very good job with that. They run the stretch play as well as anybody in the country, and they run it, and they run it, and they run it. So they're not trying to trick you. They're trying to play solid offense on defense. I'm very, very impressed with their defensive line, their safeties and linebackers. There's not really a weak point in their team. So, again, they make you go the hard way and make you earn it. So, but we're excited to go out to Wyoming. We'll leave here Friday, play Saturday evening, and get back to Boone. So we're open for questions.
David Ware, 24/7 Sports. Shawn, can you give us a little bit of a health update? I would say in particular, I noticed Eli Wilson was missing for a portion of the game. You mentioned him afterwards, and then maybe an update on Jaden Ramsey's status at left or right tackle.
Eli Wilson exited the game. It was the first quarter, I believe. He was back at practice yesterday, so all positive signs there. That was probably more just me being careful with Eli, knowing that we have a big run coming here in the Sun Belt. And then Jaden Ramsey was back at practice also. He'll practice Tuesday, and we'll see who plays the best through practice, and whoever plays the best will get the start. So, but overall, injury-wise, came out clean that football game. Just been very cautious with Eli Wilson.
You mentioned Wyoming's style of play. They held the ball for 38 minutes against Texas, and that was despite being 4 for 14 on third down. I'm not sure how those two things coincide. Could you tell us a little bit more about kind of the way that they're commanding the clock?
I think that was part of their game plan. You watch the game from a whole, so it was offense and defense. They were going to run the football and take the quick intermediate throws and try to eat up the clock, which they did. I think they ran their game plan exactly how they wanted to do it to keep Texas offense off the field, but. Again, you watch their team. There's not a weak spot in their football team, especially on offense and defense. I mean, you look at it, they don't beat themselves. And as you watch college football, some teams will beat themselves. They don't do that. You look at the turnover margin; they haven't had many turnovers. Their kids play extremely hard, and they're just hard, tough-nosed kids, very similar to our program.
Defensively, I noticed some different kind of sets up front. They might go 3-man, they might go 4. They'll stack 5 or 6 at the line at points, but always they're leaving a safety back in the middle of the field. So they're really trying to keep the top on that defense. When you've got a defense that's willing to kind of change what that front set looks like, how do you kind of offset that from an offensive line standpoint?
Well, you watch the tape, like you mentioned, they base off a 4-man front. They get into the 3-man front, and they'll load the box. But the one thing they do is always have a high safety, so your shot plays are eliminated at some times. And I think we have to be smart as an offense of how we formate them, some shifts and motions to make them think. But Texas did a lot of unbalanced formations and motions, and they were lined up perfect every single time. So I think credit goes to their defensive staff of having a sound defense. They don't have to blitz because they play the right way, the right time, constantly. So there's no weakness in their defense.
It's not often that App State's going to be out elevated, but you're going to see that this week. You're at about 7,200 feet at that stadium. I think they boasted as the highest one in FBS. I'm not even sure I understand the complications of playing at a high elevation, what it does to the body, how you're supposed to prepare for that early in the week. Is it just a matter of rotating regularly? What have you guys kind of studied on that?
Well, we did look at that. Megan Morley, our sports nutritionist, did a big study this past summer, and I think we have a great plan for it. I think as far as our taking care of our bodies, that was mentioned last night in our team meeting. You have to treat your body like you're a professional, how you eat, how you sleep, how you fuel your body. And that's going to go a long way. I mean, it's 7,000 feet. Again, you make it what it is, or if you talk about it, it's going to be a big deal. But that's why we train here in Boone and run Howard's Knob and do things at higher elevations to if this kind of situation comes up. But it's not going to change who we are, how we rotate our players. But again, you're aware of the situation. But if you make a big deal of it, it's going to be a big deal.
Marvin Parker Jr., WLOS Asheville. It's not an intermission game. It's kind of an outlier game with Phase 1 being North Carolina, Phase 2 really being Sun Belt. But how important is it? Not looking ahead. I know you want to go 1-0 every week, but 3-1's a lot different than 2-2. So just the momentum of getting further in the win column and what that means this week. Yeah,
it's a tough non-conference schedule, as you see, and again, our goal is always to be 1-0. It's no different this week. And again, it's a non-conference game, but we want to be very successful in our non-conference schedule. And but again, 3-1 is better than 2-2. We're going to have the mindset to play a great football team and do our very best and see where it is in the fourth quarter. But our goal is to go out there and win a football game.
Any message that's particular to this week's mission outside of every week in terms of plan of attack or just the message of the week for this matchup?
No, I think it's the same. It's control the controllables. We can't control the altitude. We can't control the flight, but we can control how we practice this week. We can control how we prepare for the game, how we take care of our bodies, and the goal is always to be 1-0 every single week.
Coach, you've talked about the camaraderie and the kind of team chemistry in the locker room with this group. For road trips, does that have the ability to show up even more and be valuable? I know you've taken a bus trip across the state a little bit, but with a plane trip ahead.
It is, and we'll travel with some less players this week. And I said this in the locker room after the game, a connected team is a very dangerous football team. I think we're very connected as a team right now. And that was evident in the North Carolina game when if the defense was out there, the offense made their adjustments and they were cheering on their team. And this past week, the defense was behind the offense. When we threw a pick, you saw like Jordan Favors and Brandon Harrington is behind Joey. Don't worry about it. Keep throwing it. And then when Kanye fumbled the ball for a touchdown, our guys were behind him. So I really like this football team, just the way they prepare each and every week, the love they have for each other. We're very close, and they want each other to be successful.
I know for the second straight year, Brendan's gone through some tough stuff, but just like last year, looks like he's been, around, vocal, and I know you guys kind of let him participate in the celebration on Saturday. Just what has it meant to have him, unfortunately, again, in that situation, but he's still been engaged and a leader for this group?
No, again, it breaks my heart to see Brendan go through this for the second straight year and just what kind of kid he is. And it was important for us to honor him this past Saturday, make him a team captain, and to let him sing the song in the locker room. He'll undergo surgery this Thursday, but Brendan's a big piece of this team, and just to watch how he's matured and became a great young man, a great leader in our program, people that our players look up to. He does have another year of eligibility, but if he decides to do something else, I'm going to try to hire him as a football coach. That's how much that I respect Brennan and his knowledge for the game, his love for Appalachian State.
Last one for me. I'm sure you didn't see it live, but you probably saw the setup in the lead days leading up to it, and Yosef coming down from the 7th floor on a zip line. I know you have bigger things to worry about, but just I assume you've seen replays of that and what your impressions were of that display.
No, I did see the dress rehearsal on Friday afternoon, I believe, and I didn't see it live. My wife showed it to me after the game on Saturday, but I think it just goes to show our athletic department and Doug, and it really starts with our chancellor that gives us everything we have to be successful and make this place a special environment, and App State's on the cutting edge of that, and I think that's always good to see, but I think it's great for the fans, so I'm excited to see what's next. It's going to be hard to beat Yosef dropping off the top floor of the Mark Rick Center, but I'm sure we have something up our sleeve for the first home conference game.